Hello, it's Miles here, and today I want to talk about the PlayStation Classic. Now, I'm a pretty big game collector. I like collecting games for pretty much every system, but one system in particular that I really enjoy is the PlayStation, the original PS1. I think it has really stood the test of time, and the collection of games that are available for it are just incredible, like mind-blowing. And there's so many games in there that are just pure hidden gems. So whenever I heard that there was a PlayStation 1 Classic Edition coming out, little mini consoles like Nintendo has been putting out, with the NES and the Super Nintendo, I thought, oh wow, like this is great, And I got all excited and I started thinking, oh, well, it's got to have this game and this game. And I'm not the first one to say this either. A lot of people have been saying it. And I think a lot of people have been disappointed with what Sony has ended up putting out. Now, to be fair, I think Sony could have botched this completely. I don't personally think that the list is all that bad. There's certainly some strange ones in there, like Rainbow Six. Why is Rainbow Six for the PS1 in there? I mean, sure, if you're gonna make like a PC box of like best games of like 1997, 98, or something like that, sure, you could put in Rainbow Six, I guess, but for the PS1, I don't know anybody who played it. I don't know, I have no idea why they included it. It's a totally different game from the PC version. It's more of a just generic shooter, so it's totally lost on me. But the rest of them, I don't really have that much of a problem with. I think it's a decent enough list, but of course, I think it could be better. So I've decided to give you my list. So this is my 20 games that the PlayStation Mini should have. Number 1, Alien Trilogy. Now this is probably a shock to a lot of people. Maybe a lot of people consider it just a PC game, but I remember getting this back in the day. It was one of the first games I ever got for the PS1, and I loved it. And today, it still holds up. While the controls for the PS1, and especially the PS1 Mini that's coming out, don't have the dual sticks, that's not a problem, because this is a game that was considered to be a Doom clone back in the day. And because of that, you can play it really easily with a controller, just as they did with Doom on the PS1 whenever they ported it over. It played amazingly, it ran really smoothly, and the controls were completely fine. And I mean, like, who doesn't love a good Aliens game? And this is certainly one of the best ones ever made. So I think that because it still holds up, and it's still a lot of fun, and it is quite forgotten, I think this deserves to be on the 20 games on the system. Number 2, Apocalypse. Now this is another game that is quite different. It didn't really get much acclaim whenever it first came out, but since then it has kind of gotten a cult following. And a big reason for that is, number 1, the gameplay is actually fantastic. Kind of imagine like a Contra with a bit more twin-stick shooter action to it, and with FFVs and really cutting-edge technology for the time. And of course, the big draw for Apocalypse is Bruce Willis. Yes, Bruce Willis is in this game, and they actually digitized his face and like put it onto a model and everything, which for the time was like mind-blowing. I mean, people couldn't get over this at the time. I mean, now it's not that big of a deal, but like for the time it was crazy. But in terms of gameplay, this stands out really well, and it still holds up incredible. So I think this deserves to be in as well. Number 3, Blast Chamber. Now, talk about hidden gems on the PS1. Wow. Even whenever I see top 10, top 20, top 50 lists of, best games or most hidden games on the system, I never see this game anywhere. Nobody ever mentions it. And it is such a shame because it is so unique and such an incredible game. It is fast-paced, it's got a puzzle element to it, and it is fantastic multiplayer. It is brutal, and I guarantee that you will be shouting and rage at your friends while playing this game, like any good old-school couch multiplayer game back in the day. And just look at it. I mean, nothing like that has come before or really since. I still think even today it's unique and it really deserves to be better known. Number 4, Bloody Roar. Now, whenever you think of the PS1, a lot of fighting games come to mind. The most famous, of course, being Tekken. But for me, Bloody Roar stole my heart. I played it one time on a demo and I fell in love with it. Not only was it a competent fighter game, but it was fast and it was bloody and it was brutal. Whenever you first start, you get that sense of, the hits and the punches and everything really has a nice connect to it. But then you turn on Beast Mode, where you actually become, the character's alternative bestial version of themselves. And everything just gets ramped up. All of a sudden you're slashing and jumping higher and hitting harder and smashing your opponent against the floor and the walls of like a cage. It's so much fun, and it still holds up again today. Number 5, Blood Omen. This game is actually a big shock to me because nobody seems to be talking about it. For the PS1, Blood Omen Legacy of Kain was a huge game whenever it first came out. I mean, it had voice acting, good voice acting, not Resident Evil voice acting, and it had a kind of Diablo kind of feel to it, but it was certainly and completely a game of its own, with a lot of depth and a lot of different abilities and upgrades that you could get for your character. It was somewhat of a Metroidvania combined with a Diablo-type game, and it's still quite unique even today. But whenever the PS1 Classic was announced, I thought, oh well, this is a shoo-in. But it's not, and everybody else who's making lists like this hasn't mentioned it, so I'm shocked by that. But, I mean, anybody back in the day will remember this game, and because of that, I think it absolutely deserves another shot at life. I mean, there was tons of sequels for it, and the franchise is just gone now. It's such a shame, but it deserves to be remembered in the PlayStation Classic. Number 6, Discworld. Now, whenever I was compiling this list, I thought, I want to go for something different. I want to go for different genres and different types of games, and a lot of things that people might not really remember from the PlayStation 1, but things that you could get into and that you would be excited about once you find that they are on the little mini console. I think it's nice to have a point-and-click game in this collection, because it would get a lot of other people sort of invested and wanting to try it out. And Discworld is a big series. I mean, there's movies and TV shows, and of course the legendary book series. So it makes sense to me that this should be shown. This should be put back out into the world, and people should enjoy. Number 7, Ein Hander. Ein Hander. Ein Hander. Ein Hander! Yeah, that doesn't happen in the game, but I just want to shout that name. What a game. Wow. A game that I don't have in my collection for very good reasons, because it's incredibly expensive now. But because it's so expensive, and because it's such a great game, one of the few really perfect, solid 3D shooter games to ever be made, it so deserves to be on the PlayStation Classic. It's fast, it looks amazing, it holds up perfectly today, and there's lots of little customization to it. It's got a perfect amount of challenge to it, and a lot of really fun upgrades and power-ups to collect. It's definitely a game that should not be missed. And because it is a shooter, you'll have those fans of the hardcore genre coming in and wanting to pick up the console. And maybe then, trying out other games not available on the Mini, but, getting interest in the console back up. Because it's such a great console, the PS1, and there's plenty of shooter titles for it. Number 8, GTA. Now, whenever the Mini was announced, I thought this has to be there. I've since heard a lot of people complain that now that it actually is officially in there, they don't want it, and I'm confused by that. Because whenever GTA first came out, this is how most people played it. And of course, the series is beyond legendary now, with Rockstar Games just pumping them out all the time, and each one being pretty much a masterpiece. So to go back to the very start of it all, to GTA 1, that's a shoo-in. It's so obvious to me that that was a great idea. And I'm so glad that it actually is in the collection. The reason why I personally think it should be there is because, again, it's a game that you can just pick up and play, and it's good to have a mix of those type of games that you can pick up and play and ones that you can spend a little bit more time to get into. You know, more sort of time-sinky type of games. And some of the other games on my list definitely do that. But for GTA, it is just really fun, it's quick to get into, and for fans of the series nowadays who maybe didn't grow up with the original versions, this will be a great way for them to see where the series started, where it all came from originally. Number 9. Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid is one of the games that I think everyone unanimously agrees had to have been on the PlayStation Mini, so it is good that they have included it there. I think a lot of people were worried that it wasn't going to show up, but it's there. I mean, there's not much to say about this game. It's Metal Gear Solid. Everybody kind of knows about it. Even those who I think got into the series later, I think they still know about the game. And I do think it is a shame that the original game has somewhat been forgotten, or at least there's not many re-releases. I don't think there's any re-release of it, actually. I think you can still only play it on the PS1, and that's a shame because, I mean, that is a big part of the Metal Gear series. Of course, it started on the original NES, but Metal Gear Solid, I think for most people, was their first Metal Gear game, and it certainly elevated the series and even technology and the gaming world to a higher level whenever it came out. I still remember going out and buying a DualShock controller just for the game and being like blown away and it's kind of scared whenever it would start like rumbling and I'd punch someone and I could feel like a crack in my hands. I was like, whoa, this is amazing! And of course, anybody who has already played Metal Gear Solid will know that the developers use the rumble motions in interesting ways in the game. Having said that, sadly the PlayStation Mini won't have rumble features or dual sticks. So, while it's good to have the game on the mini console, I'm hoping maybe there'll be an expansion or some sort of controller that comes out to give you the real feel of what the Metal Gear Solid game really should be, and that is with dual sticks and rumble.
You're a strong man. Well, that's enough for now, I think.
Number 10. Omega Boost. Omega Boost is a game that I feel is only starting now to get recognized for the amazing game it really is. It's a cross between a lot of different genres. I would classify it as an arcade 360-degree shooter. It is fast, I mean blisteringly fast, and it is equally just as fun. It's another game that you can pick up and play very quickly and really get into it. The level of challenge I think this game has is just perfect. It ramps it up at the right amount that you want, while still always being fun but challenging. So that's the first 10 of my list of what games should have been on the PlayStation Mini. Come back next week to find out the next 10. And in the meantime, why don't you like, subscribe, and comment below. Do you agree with any of my picks? Do you disagree with all of them? Let me know in the comments. And I want to hear what you would have picked for the 20 games on the PlayStation Mini. So I'll see you next week when I bring the second part of the top 20 games that the PlayStation Mini should have included. Bye for now.